What's up everybody, welcome back. I'm Hex and in this video I'm gonna showcase my level 12 group. I completely broke the game this time. Here's a fight against level 14 guards with maximum reinforcements, expert difficulty with enemy sequence hidden. It's heavily edited so I don't waste your time. After that we'll go over the party composition, gear and skill choices. Enjoy. So we're back in the camp. Let's talk about party size. I recommend group of 8 because whether you play region locked or adaptive, 8 will do just fine. Another reason is that I want to be able to use the most powerful and fun weapons in the game, and going less than 8 means giving up some of them. With that being said, I want to keep my fights as short as possible. That's why for me it's very important that all my characters can carry their own weight and then some. This is the reason why I don't use animals. Even the bear cannot compare to the power and versatility of even my weakest character. I know a lot of you guys like to run around with a whole zoo behind them, and that's fine, but I like efficiency, so I don't recommend fighting animals. The reason I have 9 characters instead of 8 is that I found the God Rose recruit very late when my group was like level 11. and I was too attached to my original archer to sit her down. So here's my recommended setup. Alright, let's start with the tanks. We got a destroyer wearing Paladin Segmenta. It drops from the Inquisition leaders in the Inquisition groups. We got a unique mace from the Tomb of Ancients in Artis. This shield comes from the arena in Artis. We got Blacksmith for him, plus 10 strength. Generally, the one-handed weapons with strength have low base strength compared to the two-handed, for example. So your tanks will need the extra strength boost. So that's why we have Blacksmith on this guy. These are the skills for the destroyer. Now, I don't have time in this video to go deep dive on the skills. I'm planning to make guides for each class. So let me know down in the comments which classes you want me to start with. Moving on to the swordsman, again, Blacksmith for the extra strength. His sword is from, I believe, the Tomb of Ancients in the new zone, Alazar. It's very good. It helps build that Valor. He's wearing Inquisition Segmenta. This is the other heavy armor that drops from the Inquisition groups. It's the same like the Paladin Segmenta, slightly worse stats, but we dropped double star, so that's what he's wearing. It also looks so sick, guys. I love this armor. His shield drops from Brotherhood groups, basically increases his damage for the amount of half of his guard, and he has a lot of guard. He has like 64% guard, right? These are the skills I'm using. One to note here is the new bravery skill. It's a very strong buff, guys. Critical hit and critical damage increased by 30%. That's AoE, so that's very powerful. On both our tanks and actually all of our strength characters, we're using Lair of the Rat. I would recommend for the most part until the end game to use the layer that gives strength and crit. I'm not using it now because it actually didn't pop the quest that gives that layer. It's supposed to be a path quest from the Brotherhood, but because my game started in the early access, I suppose that's the reason it never popped for me. So yeah, nevertheless, Lair of the Rat is an excellent choice, movement plus crit. Next up, we're gonna talk about the characters with AoE capabilities, starting with the two-handed brute. This is the superstar. She's very powerful. She can kill like 5 people at once easily. First of all, because brute skills, the most OP passive skills you can have in the game. And then her hammer, the Dagon's hammer. This weapon has been repeatedly nerfed, but it's still very powerful if the character is built right. You want to build her for crit, of course. It's very important for her to crit. That's why we have Tinkerer on her. So this weapon drops from Tiltran's Tomb of Ancients, but some people say that it's not 100%. Let me know in the comments, how is it for you? I've always found it there. I have no problem finding it every single playthrough. Maybe I'm lucky, who knows. This medium armor drops from the Inquisition groups. It is the best armor in the game. It has critical damage and critical hit bonus. There is a similar armor, actually the same stats that drops from the tracker groups, but it's very much harder to farm because the enemies that wear this armor in the tracker groups are way less than the enemies in the Inquisition groups that you can get the Inquisition Hamata. So for our two-handed brute, we're using Tinkerer for the extra crit. Again, Lair of the Rat because she's a strength user. Next up is our Spearman. Her specialty is Halbardier. It allows her to have a controlled whirlwind. It's one of the new professions. The skill is very powerful. I've seen her crit with 800 damage on multiple enemies. To be able to unlock this profession, you have to beat the arena in Artis and you gotta learn it from a guy in the church in town. Those are the rest of the skill choices. As for gear, we're using the spear that drops from the champion in Gothenburg. It's very good for her role. It allows us to force disengage when some of our weaker characters get engaged by the enemy. She could also use taunt and then use the attack twice. So that's a very high base damage. And the control whirlwind, yeah, it's very powerful. We're using cook on her. You could train her as blacksmith or something for better stats. I'm just lazy to switch it all the time because I cook a lot, so I just keep her as cook. We're using Alizarian Gambazon. Now this armor doesn't have any extra stats, but has very high armor for a medium armor. So we have preparedness on her, so sometimes when there's no other option, we'll let her gain riposte and fury and let her get hit. So sometimes she's like off tanking, so that's why this armor. The third character with AoE capabilities is our barbarian. We have the new woodcutter profession on her for extra crit and strength. She's using Nepti's axe. This axe comes from the new Tomb of Ancients in Vertrus that they added with 1.0. It has a really nice big arc for AoE. Her offhand weapon is a unique axe that drops from the arena in Alazar, the new region. This class doesn't have the movement capabilities like, say, the swordsman or the brute, so we're just often using her to just knock out 2 or 3 enemies in the beginning, and most importantly to buff our group with that AoE 30% damage increase. That's her main role, but she's definitely capable of killing, no doubt about that. This new class barbarian can also be learned in Gothenburg, I believe in the stables. Don't quote me on that though. If you cannot find it, let me know in the comments and I'll reply to you there. I already mentioned this armor, critical hit and critical damage, can't go wrong with that. So now for the real killers, the 2 rangers. On this guy, we're using Alchemist for plus 10 dexterity. This dagger drops in the Tomb of Ancients in Gothenburg. We're using throwing knives as offhand weapon because of the crit obviously, and most importantly because this throw ignores guards. So it will hit very hard on tanks. The assassin profession is the strongest for the rangers, no doubt about it. Core skill instinctive throw so he can reset movement. Of course cold-blooded. Now on this guy I got anticipation. It works nicely. Sometimes he'll get hit and he'll retaliate and kill his opponent outright. We're using Worshipper's Tunic. It's really visual preference. All the light armors have well, most of light armors have critical hit and movement. On the second ranger, again, Alchemist. It's very easy to level the alchemy and the bonus is really nice, plus 10 dexterity. That's like damage to them and crit. He's using the dagger from the champion of the new zone, Alazar. We got lucky with a double star Captain Doublet. This drops from the leader of the guard groups. So he really needs that armor because his base willpower is 11. And with the Tyrannical and the loot in the camp and this armor, he can actually reach 15 willpower. It's kind of nice because sometimes they'll get hit and they can survive. As for skills, again, the Assassin Throw, the right between the eyes is an extremely strong skill, way better than any of the other ones. Instinctive Throw is a must, of course, cold-blooded. And on this guy, I got Unstoppable instead of Anticipation. It's really nice. You can go through enemies and just backstab people. And for level 12, I got the Bravery skill. It's very strong, although my group is so strong that it's really not needed. But yeah, you can go either way. It's really a personal preference. On both rangers, we're using Lair of the Falcon. This is plus 2 dexterity and plus 2 crit. Archers. Now this was my original archer that I ran most of the game with. As you can see, she's critting for over 1000, and if she builds her rage, she can crit very close to 2000. I haven't gone over 2000 yet, but just the battles end too fast. So yeah, they don't use bows, these archers. They use 50 cal snipers. So I'm using Thief on her for the crit and dexterity, and you need Thief, right? So that's one of the reasons I didn't want to sit her down, because I didn't want to go over re-leveling the Thief profession. So she's a hunter. Those are her passives. Lone Wolf, Precision, Reinforced Arrows. She's definitely one of the hardest hitters. Again, Captain's Doublet on her. If we don't have the loot on, With this armor, she can have 15 willpower. So always good to have. And we're using Warble. This drops from the guard captains. As for layers, we're using Lair of the Falcon again. +2 dex, +2 crit. And now the actual god recruit with the god rolls. She spawned with 15 base willpower. This is the maximum you can get. And then solitary and bloodthirsty. This literally is the strongest character that you can recruit. I called her Amanda because the resemblance with Amanda Nunes, the UFC champion, is uncanny. Again, Warble on her. She's using level 10 armor, but it doesn't really matter. She doesn't get hit. Now, I didn't mention anything about oils, so I want to talk about oils kind of like in general. So for the characters like the brutes, they have skill, you know, that allows them to penetrate guard. So they don't need help with that. So on them, do sharpening oil and unstable oil. But on characters like the rangers and the archers, you want to have perforating oil. Like on the rangers, you can at first use sharpening oil until you're building your crit up. But once you have high crit, change for perforating oil. This will allow them to penetrate 50% of the guard. So all of your characters will be able to kill tanks. As you've seen in the fight before that. Once you go over 50% crit, you can switch the sharpening oil with perforating oil. So this guy here, I keep the sharpening oil on him because he has a skill that removes the guard. On every single melee character, you should have unstable oil. It's very, very, very strong, guys. Especially on characters that have multiple attack skills. Like this guy, for example. He has his normal attack, he has his Valor attack, and then he has his Shield Slam. So every single one of these attack has a chance to basically do double damage. Well, not even double damage. Because attack of opportunity is 100% of his strength, you know? So his attack of opportunities are so powerful. As you can see, I have unstable oil on every single melee character. By the way, when she's doing AoE attacks, she has a chance to proc that unstable oil. Even with Relentless Charge, try to land always next to an enemy because attack of opportunity can be triggered. Also, when you're doing the Dagon's punishment, if you're close to one or more enemies, there's a chance that she will proc attack of opportunity on every single one of them, every single one of the enemies that she's touching. So it could be very, very powerful. Alright guys, this video went so long. It's gonna be a bunch of editing. Please leave a like and subscribe if you wanna appreciate our efforts. Regardless of that though, thank you for watching and I will see you in the next one. Hex out.